Have you ever noticed how somewhere along the line, our days just stop feeling like something we actually experience? Instead, they start feeling like something we merely have to survive. It's a heavy thought, isn't it? For so many of us navigating the second half of life, the calendar is packed tight, the demands are sky high, and those quiet, peaceful moments, well, they're incredibly rare. Today, we're going to explore a very familiar reality. But to do that, I want to start by introducing you to a man named James. James is in his late 40s. And for a long, long time, he truly believed that a packed schedule meant he was successful. He thought he was doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing. In fact, his entire identity became totally wrapped up in just a single concept. You see, whenever his wife, a good friend, or a colleague asked him how his day went, or just how he'd been doing lately, his automatic response was always reduced to this one single word: busy. And he said it with this strange mix of utter exhaustion and, well, kind of a quiet pride. It was his default state of being. But to really understand how James got to a place where this was his only answer, we need to take a look at what his days actually looked like. Every single morning, James's alarm would ring at 5:30 a.m. And before his feet even touched the floor, what did he do? He reached right for his phone. Instantly, there were emails from clients, text messages from family, calendar reminders popping up for endless meetings, missed calls. His day hadn't even truly started yet, but his mind was already racing at 100 miles an hour. By the afternoon, he was solving problems for his coworkers, putting out fires for clients, and trying to manage the lives of his family members. And by the evening, he was completely, utterly exhausted. I mean, there was just absolutely nothing left in the tank. Which brings us to a very specific Saturday afternoon. James was sitting at the kitchen table, just piping away as usual. His young granddaughter walked up to him, tugged gently on his sleeve, and asked him to come outside and play. And without even looking up from the glow of his laptop, James just muttered, "Maybe later." She smiled a little sadly, turned around, and walked away. And as is so often the case in our overly scheduled lives, later just never came. That night, just staring up at the ceiling in the dark, James asked himself a question that had literally never crossed his mind before. He thought, if I'm so busy building a life, why does it feel like I'm missing it? Wow. It's a profound, heavy realization, isn't it? And it perfectly captures what we are looking at in today's explainer: the hidden cost of constant busyness. Because sometimes the absolute greatest threat to our well-being in our 40s, 50s, and beyond isn't laziness. It's not a lack of ambition. It's living at this breakneck pace that leaves absolutely no room to truly live. It really forces us to pause and reflect on this. Is being busy the same thing as living well? Think about it. For a lot of us, busyness has falsely become this sort of proof that our lives matter. As we age, our responsibilities naturally increase, right? Our careers demand way more of our expertise, our kids need guidance, and at the exact same time, our parents begin aging and needing our care. The bills accumulate, opportunities multiply, and somewhere along the way, we start wearing our exhaustion like a badge of honor. But we really have to separate activity from meaning. This brings us to Section 1, the illusion of success, and why being busy isn't always living well. And that leads directly into Section 2, the hidden costs. Let's talk about what busyness quietly steals from us. We so often live under this illusion that simply doing a lot of things means we're doing meaningful things. Society basically tells us that a full plate is a sign of importance, right? We run frantically from task to task, mistakenly believing that if we can just clear out the inbox, well, then things will finally settle down. But busyness isn't a neutral state. It's an active transaction that quietly takes a massive toll on our well-being. It starts with attention theft. Our bodies might physically be in the living room with our families, but our minds, they're somewhere else entirely. We're thinking about tomorrow, planning next week, drafting emails in our heads. We merely survive our days instead of actually experiencing them. And from there, it bleeds into decision fatigue, relationship decay, serious physical health tolls, and ultimately, a loss of purpose. Let's consider decision fatigue for a moment. Every single choice you make consumes mental energy. What should I answer first? Which task matters most? Who needs me right now? By the evening, even small, simple decisions like what on earth to have for dinner can feel completely overwhelming. Your mind tires out long before your muscles do. And when we have zero emotional margin left, that is exactly when we see relationship decay. Meals become rushed, Phone calls to old friends get delayed again and again. The moments that could have become lasting, beautiful memories just disappear entirely, all because we are mentally tapped out. Furthermore, the body keeps the score. It remembers what the schedule forgets. Think about it. When our calendars are totally overflowing, what's the very first thing we sacrifice? Sleep. It's almost always sleep. Then the exercise gets postponed. Healthy, nourishing meals are suddenly replaced by whatever is quick and convenient. We basically start treating our bodies like machines, believing that rest and recovery are optional luxuries, rather than absolute biological necessities. But here's the truth. Your nervous system does not care about your deadlines. The physical toll is very real, and it absolutely compounds over time. This leads us to a truly vital realization. There is a profound difference between a full calendar and a full life. Perhaps the greatest cost of all is that constant busyness makes us forget why we started working so hard in the very first place. We become so incredibly focused on completing today's tasks, checking off all those little boxes and managing the logistics, that we completely lose sight of tomorrow's deeper purpose. We really have to learn to distinguish between a schedule that's crowded and a life that is actually full. Let's move right into section 3, reclaiming your time. We're going to look at some small habits for creating breathing room. Reclaiming your time doesn't mean you just abandon your responsibilities. I mean, most of us over 40 can't simply walk away from our commitments, our jobs, or our families. And honestly, we shouldn't have to. The answer isn't about escaping your life. It's about making small, intentional adjustments to create some much-needed breathing room. It starts with simply asking yourself better questions. First, does everything on my calendar actually deserve to be there? Second, am I consciously making time for what matters most, or am I just hoping I'll have some leftover time at the end of the day? Third, is recovery scheduled? Look, if you schedule your meetings, you must schedule your rest. And finally, when I am with the people I love, am I actually present? Just answering these questions honestly can begin to dramatically shift your perspective. Once you've asked those questions, you can start to implement manageable, low-barrier daily habits. Step 1, take a phone-free daily walk. Just leave it at home. Step 2, commit to a distraction-free dinner. No screens at the table whatsoever. Step 3, set aside just 10 minutes of quiet reflection a day. Just 10 minutes. And step 4, end your evening by reading a book instead of checking your emails one last time. Notice that none of these require hours of free time. Sometimes just one intentional change creates the space for many others. Small habits create breathing room, and let me tell you, breathing room creates clarity. Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, Adding Life to Years, the return to what matters. So let's go back to James. After his late-night realization, he decided to experiment with creating some of that breathing room. The very next weekend, his granddaughter came up and asked him again, "Grandpa, will you come outside?" This time, James made a completely different, intentional choice. He closed the laptop. He silenced his phone. He looked her right in the eyes, and he simply said, "Let's go." It was such a tiny moment, just a simple decision to be present, but it represented a massive shift in how he was choosing to live his life. They spent less than an hour together out in the backyard. They laughed, they played, they just talked. Nothing extraordinary or cinematic happened. But years later, James couldn't remember a single one of the emails he had ignored that afternoon. But he remembered the laughter, he remembered the connection. Because the moments that matter most are rarely the busiest ones. Healthy aging and really finding peace in the second half of life is all about recognizing that emotional payoff. I want to leave you with a thought to carry with you this week. Time is not measured by the tasks we complete, but by the presence we bring to the moments that matter. We only have a limited amount of energy and attention. When we finally stop trying to be everything to everyone at all times, we actually have the capacity to be truly present for the few things and the few people that genuinely enrich our lives. Sometimes the very first step toward a better life isn't doing more. Sometimes the absolute bravest thing you can do is just to slow down, put down the phone, and make room for what matters most. A full schedule is never a substitute for a full life. If you found the insights in this explainer helpful, please take a quick moment to like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone in your life who might just need this gentle reminder today. This is Renewed After 40, helping people over 40 thrive in the second half of life. Until next time, keep renewing your life. One day, one habit, one step at a time.